Rome. Caesar make you a believer. Nah, I never ever did it for a throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people. Now sing this song and it goes like,
goodness gracious.
Those hands.
Well, thank you all very much. Oh, and a whistle. Thank you. Another whistle. Wow. Thank you, Chad, for that lovely and embarrassing introduction. I would like to thank Vinny and everyone from the HRC Foundation who worked so hard over so many months to put Time to Thrive together. I know big events like this are the definition of team sports. So please, I know you've already applauded for them once, but please give another round of applause to the HRC Foundation. I would also like to add my voice to those who are commending Ellen Page for her courage and her grace on Friday evening. I am certainly one of those more than 3 million that Chad talked about who watched her speech on Friday night, Valentine's Day, with my husband and was so deeply moved from our home in New York. As a woman who is happily married to her husband, I clearly don't have similar news, but I am equally honored to be here with all of you today. I'm partly so honored to be here in a room full of young people and professionals committed to serving young people because it is such a diverse audience. We have K-12 educators, we have mental, oh yeah, woo, we have, feel free to cheer, chant, whistle. We have mental health providers, we have pediatricians, we have guidance counselors, we have athletic coaches, we have everyone who is on the front lines of working with, supporting, encouraging, and empowering our young people every day. So first, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of all of us who care so much about our country today and our country's future tomorrow. I think it's fitting we're here on President's Day weekend. I'm thrilled that my father and all of the men who have served our country so ably as president will be formally recognized tomorrow for their service. But I also think this is an opportunity to celebrate those Americans like all of you here who are serving our country. So I couldn't imagine anywhere I'd rather be than with all of you on this quite warm and sunny Sunday. You've spent more than 2 days sharing stories, gaining skills, and understanding how better you can do the work that all of you feel called to do. And I have no doubt you'll leave with a lot more paper, or at least a more full flash drive than you arrived with. You've learned to ask difficult questions, how to support kids in asking their own difficult questions about themselves, their identities, their lives. You've learned to help kids first become tolerant and then to respect their classmates and their friends, whether they're LGBTQ or straight. You've learned how to integrate LGBTQ history into history curriculums and so much more. I only wish that I hadn't come only for Sunday. You've heard stories directly from brave, courageous young people who embraced who they are and have inspired others to do the same. From Constance McMillan, who took on her school so that she could bring her girlfriend to her senior prom, or at least try. To Jack Andraka, whom I have long admired, whom we just heard from, who continues to inspire me and I know will inspire so many young people, LGBTQ and straight, to pursue careers in math and science. To all the young panelists who spoke so movingly on the panel that Elsie Granderson yesterday hosted, to talk about how young people who are LGBTQ are disproportionately impacted by the worst of the economic, social, and public health challenges that our country continues to face, and how those that are transgendered, of color, and homeless bear an even more disproportionate burden. So where do you and all of us go from here? After all the incredible progress we saw in 2013, I think it's sometimes easy to think that progress actually marked success and that our work could stop on the steps of the Supreme Court. And we certainly shouldn't take anything away from the historic victories of 2013. Even HRC's own Fred Sands, whom I just met backstage, called 2013 the gayest year in gay history. And we did witness progress on multiple levels. Today, 17 states in the District of Columbia, including the two places where Chad and I both live, now recognize same-sex marriage. Last week, the Justice Department, for the first time, instructed all of its employees across the country to extend equal protection to legally recognize same-sex marriage couples. That will have huge implications, everything from courthouse proceedings to prison visits, to the giving of compensation benefits to spouses who have lost loved ones in the line of duty. My good friend Jason Collins made history by becoming the first openly gay professional athlete in a major American sport, and now others have followed his example courageously, and I certainly hope that later this year we'll be cheering on the first openly gay NFL player. The song I was thrilled to walk out to, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's Same Love, brought questions and conversations of equality into living rooms that probably had never tackled those ideas before. We made tremendous progress on the legal, political, and cultural fronts, but we should not mistake progress for success because we have a lot more work to do. On the legal and political side, 33 states and a variety of American territories, to be exact. And we have to continue to focus on those who are most at risk and most vulnerable to this time of churn, even with forward progress in our country, our young people. Because changing laws and changing the political dialogue, while necessary, is insufficient to ensure that bullying stops, to ensure that every young person is supported by their parents and their teachers as they question who they are and they discover who they are, regardless of their sexuality. HRC's landmark report, Growing Up LGBT in America, drives this home, saying the deck is stacked against LGBTQ young people across our country. In school hallways and homes, the impact of family rejection, bullying, and safety concerns weigh all too heavily on too many young people. Over 1/2 of LGBTQ youth say they've been verbally harassed and called names, including anti-gay slurs, this in the 21st century. LGBTQ youth are twice as likely as their peers to be kicked, shoved, or otherwise physically assaulted in school. 42% of LGBTQ youth say the community in which they live is not supportive of them. And just over 20% of LGBTQ say there are safe spaces for them to go to access the services and the resources that they know they need. Those are all statistics that all of you in this room can help change. On the brighter side, the HRC study discovered that the internet, for all of its challenges, as we heard Scott just talk about earlier this morning, can provide a safe space for LGBTQ youth, particularly those who are already more vulnerable because they live in rural communities. Overall, roughly 3/4 of LGBTQ youth in America say they are more honest online than off. That compares to 42% of their straight colleagues. This statistic inspired former Brown University student Drew Hackman to create the Queer Nebraska Youth Network. Oh yeah, you can wave, cheer, snap. I love audience participation. The Queer Nebraska Youth Network, or QNYN, is a grassroots-led peer organization for LGBTQ youth to online share their stories in a confidential, safe way, to help set up events for one another, and to share resources and services so that when one person finds something that works for him or her, he or she can evangelize about it so that others can learn from what often was probably a pretty hard journey and have an easier time. Drew founded the QNYN because despite coming out at the age of 14 in his hometown of Nebraska, or his hometown of Omaha in Nebraska, he didn't have many LGBTQ friends in high school. And then he went to college. And at Brown, he found a diverse, inclusive community, and he realized that young kids back in his hometown deserved to have that same experience at a younger age than he'd been able to find it. And because once he started to see what an impact it was having in Omaha and Nebraska, he decided he wanted to do even more. So in 2013, I met Drew at the Clinton Global Initiative University meeting at Washington University in St. Louis, where Drew came and made a commitment, establishing a safe space program that uses a geotagging website to digitally map LGBTQ-friendly resources, opportunities, and events, not only in Nebraska, but across the whole region. And so today, there are more than 500 active members of QNYN's expanded Safe Space program, stretching from Council Bluffs, Iowa, to Alliance, Nebraska. It's hard to imagine a better name. But there isn't a Constance McMillan or a Jack Andreka or a Drew Heckman without people like you to support them, to encourage them, to catch them when things get a little challenging, and to help them persist in the work that they feel called to do. And that's why all of us need to support organizations like the National Education Association, the American Counseling Association, and of course, HRC. Because those organizations, like all of you, are on the front lines of helping to support, encourage, and empower LGBTQ youth across our country. And we need to continue to support them so that they will continue to invest in setting up the programs that we desperately need in our communities across our country to ensure that every child has the right and the opportunity to grow up to be the person that he or she wants to be. And, oh. And social workers, absolutely. I should just blanketly apologize if I forgot to mention any group. And please feel free to correct me. I very much believe in an ongoing self-improvement project. I've often been asked why issues of equality are so important to me. And frankly, I never understand why I'm being asked that question. Because to me, this is fundamentally about the premise and the promise of our country, of always marching toward a more perfect union. And I was raised in a family where inertia was not an option. If we are not making progress, we are, by definition, falling behind. My mother has often said that the issue of women's rights is the unfinished business of the 21st century. That is certainly true. But so too are the issues of LGBTQ rights, the unfinished business of the 21st century. And so it's my hope that if we all continue to work together in the not too distant future, every child, whether LGBTQ or straight, can go to sleep every night knowing that they're safe and secure, and can dream about who they want to be and where they want to live and who they want to love without those dreams being shadowed. And I am confident that we can get there if we continue to have gatherings like Time to Thrive, and if we continue to have the right balance of patience and impatience to continue to push for progress in our communities, in our states, and in our country. I have no doubt that you will coach the next Jason Collins, that you will counsel the next Jack Andreka, that you will teach the next Chad Griffin. And I have no doubt that we will help create the country that some of us want to grow up in, and the rest of us want to grow old in. So thank you very much.
How incredible is she? Two Arkansans up here on stage.